Nelson here with the Icon Podcast, and I am joined by some awesome guests. They are coming from the scorching hot desert of Arizona, and I'm just sweating even thinking about how hot it's been there lately. And guys, I just want to say thank you so much for jumping on with us today.
Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Absolutely. Well, we've been connected for a few years now in different forms or fashions. I think we've run in similar circles. I don't think we've ever crossed paths physically before. So I'm super excited to get to pick your guys' brain and, talk a little bit of EXP stuff today.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Awesome. Well, let's just dive in. For those listening and they're not watching video, we got both of you on here. So I would love to just kind of dive in for you guys to each give a quick introduction. What's your real estate journey been like? And, what's your real estate team look like these days?
Yeah, go ahead and start.
Sure. So I've been in real estate for about 10 years. Got licensed in 2010. So, then, 4 years later or so, as I was getting really busy and trying to hire assistants that weren't working out, I said, Kristi, I could really use your help. And she came and got in the business with me. And, it's been, always evolving and changing kind of team. Right now, we've got 5 or 6 sales agents and a couple of admins. Last couple of years, we've done around 140 units and $40 million or so in volume.
Awesome. I love that. So tell me, have you always been at EXP, or what's kind of your journey for those that are listening about your journey now? Where have you guys been? Where are you at now? How long have you been here? What does that look like for you?
No, we spent most of we joined EXP about 2.5 years ago.
In January, it'll be 3.
Okay.
Yeah, so 2.5 years ago. And before that, we were at a boutique brokerage that's only here in Arizona. Well, was only here in Arizona, called Revelation Real Estate.
Okay.
They have since converted their entire brokerage over to EXP, but at that time, they weren't converting over to EXP. So we joined at the same time as Curtis Johnson, basically a few days after he joined. We were actually introduced to EXP about a year before that. And, EXP was very small at that time. And we thought it sounded a little hokey. So we didn't jump on. But then when we started seeing producers move over, then that's when we decided it was a good fit for our business.
Well, it was interesting for us, Justin, because we had been, as a team, right? Like, we knew as solo agents, we were great at our brokerage. We loved our brokers, still love our brokers. And we're so glad that we're back in business with them at EXP. Yeah. But we were kind of looking for a different model for our team. So we actually went out and interviewed with every single, brand, if you will, here in the Valley, because we just wanted to make sure that we were making the right decision. And we kind of narrowed it down to one in particular. We thought, okay, when the time comes, we're going to move. And because of the team platform. Mm-hmm. So when, as Meryl said, when we saw that our peers that we really admired and were running businesses that we wanted to run businesses like them, when they started to move to EXP, we were like, okay, so now's the time, right? But it was interesting because we were looking for a different model. We just didn't know what it was until we saw it explained.
I love that. I love that. So the one that you kind of mentioned there briefly that you had in mind, that wasn't EXP, right?
No, it wasn't. But, and that's the hard part about EXP. And this, one thing you'll find out about Meryl and I is that our goal has always just been to sell real estate, right? Like, and we tell people that all the time. I would love to be a recruiter like Curtis, right? Like, he's amazing. Brent Gove, all these amazing recruiters. And that really hasn't been us. But I will tell you that just working our business and doing what we needed to do, we've already been able to buy an investment property, with just the money that we've made purely from EXP. But when EXP was explained to us, it was way more recruitment heavy. And that's really what shied us away. It wasn't until we actually heard about the program itself in terms of selling real estate, we were like, oh, okay, it makes sense. So that's the hard thing. If you've heard about EXP and you thought, oh gosh, I don't want to join some multi-level marketing thing, you spoke to the wrong person.
No.
Right? You got to talk to someone that's selling real estate and gets it.
I love that. And that's what the Icon Podcast is all about, because you don't icon by recruiting. like you icon by selling a lot of homes and doing it well. And so I want to talk about that brokerage that you were thinking about. And I don't need to know the exact brokerage, but you guys, Arizona's home to a lot of brokerages. Cause like when I was running expansion, I got to go interview every single brokerage in Arizona as well. And you guys are home to the 100% brokerage. Like that is everywhere. Like on every corner, there's a new brokerage opening with as many agents as you guys have. So I would love to hear for you, like you talked about following big producers over to EXP, and you talked about how first and foremost selling was most important to you. What was one of the biggest reasons, if you had to pick one reason why you went to EXP and chose that model over another model?
I think we might have different reasons, but for me, what really solidified it was the cooperative, learning, right? As I mentioned, so, we worked in the same office as some really big teams, and we masterminded a little bit, right? Like we shared some things, but let's face it, we're competing, we're in the same office. And when we joined EXP, our world was just opened up. The amount of sharing and collaboration, and to this day, like it's absolutely incredible. Every single time someone joins, the Honey Badger EXP group, which is the one that we're part of, every single time I just get so excited. And even if they didn't sign up under us, I get excited because I know that we're going to be sharing great things, and together we just go so much farther. So for me, it was about working side by side, having that collaboration, and realizing that everyone's going to be built up. And actually, we've iconed 3 times now. That's why I was thinking it was 3 years, because this is our 3rd time reaching icon status. But for you, Meryl, what was one of your main reasons?
Certainly I was intrigued by the collaboration, but I've always been part of masterminds and things like that where I felt like there was good collaboration. So I'm more of a numbers guy, right? And for me, it was about the money. No, even a 100% shop wouldn't pay me to work for them.
Yeah.
And EXP does pay me a lot. I don't pay them, they pay me.
I love that. I think some people are skeptical of that sometimes because they haven't taken the time to look at the model. Like I always thought it was false. Like I'll be the first one. My ego got in the way, and I didn't realize that it's actually they pay the top 2% to be there, so that way they mentor and train and keep a good culture for the rest of the company. And so I found that quite amazing. So we talk about numbers. What was the biggest number that you looked at? Like what were you looking at to go, wow, this actually financially makes sense for us?
I was intrigued by the revenue share, and really we're really not big recruiters, right? We brought our team over, we recruited a few other people. We're averaging about $2,500 a month on our rev share. Okay. Hey, you know what? That pays my mortgage. That's pretty sweet. That's one I was not getting before. And it's, $30,000 a year, right? So certainly, the big shot recruiters would just laugh at that, and the little pittance that we receive. So I don't know that I was attracted by that, but I was also really attracted by the stock. And now that I've been here for a couple of years, even before the price, right now talking about EXP stock is the hot thing, right? Obviously because it's skyrocketed in value lately. But even when it was at $10 a share, I was like, this is so amazing. Like we are, we do we buy the stock at the discount every single month with 5% of our commissions. Yep. We usually make a couple $1,000s on that each month alone. Okay. Without it really even going up that much, And then you add in the awards, the Icon Awards and the rewards for closing your first deal and the awards for hitting your cap and the awards for recruiting someone, they close their first deal. We have literally, this is almost embarrassing to tell people, but before we joined EXP, we were pretty successful and we made a good amount of money. And we spent it all. Like we were not very good at building wealth. There's some people who are just great at that. Neither one of us were that great at it. But ever since joining EXP, we have really started to build wealth. We've increased our net worth by hundreds of thousands of dollars since joining. She mentioned we already bought 1 investment property. We have enough money set aside to actually buy 2 or 3 more investment properties. We're just waiting for the right opportunity. It would have only been 1 more investment property within the stock price lately. I know a lot of people don't, when we talk about the stock, I know there's a lot of agents who don't don't want to sell it. You know, they like to hang on the ceiling, you know, but I don't really like having all of my money in one company, you know, and real estate is my favorite investment. So when we find the right opportunity, we sell some of it off and buy other investments and so yeah, since joining EXP, we've gotten completely out of debt. We've built a ton of quite a bit of wealth, and I just feel like, and again, we're only 2.5 years. None of our vested shares are even available yet.
Yeah. We're going to talk about that here in a minute with the icon. So I love that. Well, so what I'm hearing you say is you really don't know much about stocks. You didn't really have to know much about stocks. It just kind of just got taken out of your account and it grew. You didn't have to make some strategy to go from 5 agents to 100 agents to be more profitable. You literally just changed some signs and did the same thing you'd been doing for years before. Just to make
with more support. I mean, you know, that's something that I often hear. It's so funny. Like when we joined 2.5 years ago, you would have thought that like we either started doing drugs or we were like committing suicide, because people would reach out to us and be like, how's it going?
Yeah.
Are you still okay?
Are you okay? Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but people thought we were insane. And I still get that. Like, do you ever get to talk to your broker? I mean, I hear there's just no support. And I'm like, that's laughable. Like it really, my broker and I text all the time. Like we are, you know, I love her and the supporting brokers, and we get tons of support. So, and again, we loved the brokerage we were with. Like we loved it. We got all of that and more support because of everything that's in the world and all of the resources. And again, that collaboration where now all of a sudden we started seeing the playbooks of some of the top agents across the nation. And, you know, so it wasn't just like doing the same thing as like, we were still selling houses, but we got a whole nother level of support that we just never expected.
I love that. So let's just dive in for those listening right now that maybe want to hear about your guys' icon journey. They don't even know what an icon is. They don't understand the financial benefits, the cultural benefits. So can you tell me in your market, like what roughly would an agent as of 2020, as of the recording of this, it could change over the years, depending on when you're listening, but as of today, what does it take to icon and what does that mean for those that have never heard of it before?
It depends on your average sales price. Average sales prices are up something like 14% here in the Phoenix area over the past year. Our market's just gone bananas. I feel, I've never seen anything like it, what we're experiencing right now. You know, I'm not even sure 2005 and 2006 was quite as crazy. I mean, but anyway, sorry, no, this isn't a talk about.
Oh, I love it.
Talk about icon. So our average sales price is only about $325,000. So roughly, you know, I without busting out my calculator, you know, we need to sell 10 units to hit our cap, and then sell 20 more units, right? So for your average Phoenix agent who's doing kind of a similar sales price as us, if you're doing around 30 units, if your sales price is higher than us, it might not even need to be that many. It might maybe 25 or 26, but basically you hit your cap of $16,000 and then you do 20 more units. And then if you do that, you're eligible to be an icon agent, which you're probably going to explain here in a minute, but basically means that you're going to get awarded share, assuming, you know, there's a few other little things. You got to go through a little interview, vetting thing, make sure that you're a contributor to the community. I've really never seen a top producer who isn't, right? Yeah. Okay, so if you're doing this many units, you're probably already you're going to be fine, right? You go through the little vetting process, and then you attend the 2 conferences each year, and bam, $16,000 worth of stock at the time that you earned it, which I think this year, the price when we officially achieved icon, the price of the value of the stock at that moment, I looked it up recently, it was $16 or $17 a share, which of course now it is at roughly 40. At the time of our recording, it was at 40. I look every day because it's so exciting.
Of course.
But I think it was at $41 the last time I saw. So not only did we get the 16,000, but it has more than doubled. Yeah, you know, more than doubled. Since we actually achieved the milestone.
And that's your icon this year. Your icon
from icon this year.
Yeah,
previous years it was around $10 a share. So So yeah,
That-
we got
that's
well over $100,000 worth of stock just from Icon.
Yeah.
that's amazing, and it's built in because I think a lot of people like you, and this was me for a while, that struggled building wealth. It's because we had access to the money and we spent it. Like with Icon, they kind of have this vesting thing for parts of it where you can't even touch it for a few years, and some people like will use that to dis EXP or the model, but I find it as a built-in savings account, right? Companies, corporates did that with 401ks for 80 years. And even more than ever, people can retire back then than people can now because those are all going away.
Well, that's kind of like the money that we put in every check that we get. We didn't even miss that. It's so funny because we didn't even miss it. And people ask all the time, I just don't know if I should do that. And I'm like, why wouldn't you?
5%, you're not even going to notice that that's gone. You're just going to waste that money anyway. So, the 5% out for us was a no-brainer. And, I hear a lot of people saying, hey, you should try to save 10% of everything that you make. Well, when you're in real estate, you have a lot of expenses, right? So I kind of figure like, hey, that 5%, that's already 10% of our net. That's already a little more than 10% of our net that we're putting away for savings automatically anyway. And then to see the value of that go up, and then the Icon stuff. The vesting thing is the most brilliant agent retention plan that any company in the universe has. I mean, again, if I wanted to, I don't, obviously, I'm making so much money, but if I wanted to leave EXP, I would be walking away from a ridiculous amount of money. And let's be honest, EXP exists to make money just like any other company does.
Sure.
And so I don't, I love them for that. Now, I think critics are going to say, well, yeah, but it could just as easily go down as it could go up, right? I mean, we're lucky. Everyone's all on fire right now because it's gone from, a couple of years ago, 3 cents a share, or 30 cents a share. Now it's at $41, and so people are, but it could just as easily go down. And maybe it will go down.
But we didn't pay for it anyways.
But we didn't pay for it anyway, right? Like it was just given to us. So if it goes to $5 a share, which the fastest growing brokerage in the country, we're adding thousands of agents all the time. Our profit is increasing incredibly. It is not going to go down to $5 a share. Okay, maybe it will go down. Maybe it's not going to stay at 40. Maybe it goes to 25 or 30.
If it goes to 5, I surely know what we're all doing. We're all buying a lot more of it.
For sure. Which, guess what? If everyone's loading up on it, guess what it's not going to do? It's not going to stay at 5.
So. Exactly. It's all supply and demand. I love that. So when you guys moved over, did you guys have a team at the time, or what did that look like 2.5 years ago? And was there any struggles, even if it was just admin staff or anything like that coming over with you? Like, what did that look like for you guys? Or how have you now since recruited the EXP to your team? And what benefits has EXP provided to make that easier for you?
Well, the moving over process now is light years from where it was when we started. Yeah. It was rough. When we moved everybody over, it was a little bit rough because EXP at the time had less than 25 agents or something. There was in Arizona.
In Arizona, there was under 100.
Yeah, under 100 agents. So the process in Arizona had not been fleshed out.
Now I think there's almost 2,000.
We've been able to put people in as quick as 30 minutes, right? If 30 minutes, they can get onboarded. So the onboarding process has been really easy. In terms of moving our team over, helping them see, not everybody wanted to move over, and we get that, right? Again, you got to really understand what the model looks like for you. But in terms of retention's been good, and recruiting, it has not, it hasn't been an issue, because again, when you tap in, you get out what you put in, right? Mm-hmm. So when you tap into the world and you start to realize that there are hundreds of hours of live classes, and then even more resources that you go back to, and the marketplace where you can get all your marketing pieces,
I feel guilty. We don't even tap into 1/100th of everything that's available.
We can't access even a portion of it because we just don't have time. There's just so much. So I have found with the agents on our team, they get the most benefit out of it when they dive in and they really start to see what the learning path that they want to be on. As a team, we're always, introducing them to what's available for them. But for anybody, it's what you put into is what you get out, right? Because I do know agents that are like, oh, I didn't have any support, and I just was on an island, and I'm like, that's just so foreign to me. Did you reach out to anybody? Because we never have issues reaching out and getting a response. So I would put that back on yourself, right? Like if you feel isolated in EXP, that's on you, because all you have to do is raise your hand, and there are so many people that will either meet up in person, jump on a Zoom with you, jump into the world with you, jump on a call, jump into a Facebook group. I mean, we're literally everywhere. Like we're everywhere now. And everybody in the EXP world that I have met has wanted to help and to contribute. I've never met a selfish person.
I love that. I love that. So tell me, how are you guys introduced to EXP, and what was that process like? Because a lot of people watching this are like, well, I don't know. People are trying to recruit me. I've talked to 7 different people about EXP. Like, how does this work? Like, how are you guys introduced to EXP? And, you know, how did that transition look like for you?
Well, once badly.
Right? No, it wasn't badly.
Well,
We just, yeah, the first person who introduced me to it, you weren't in the presentation. That was probably the first problem, right? The first person who introduced me to it is right under Brent Gove, and she's a major producer, and she's probably really bitter that we joined and didn't end up signing.
Well, I was thinking about someone else. So I guess then the second one was somebody that I know really closely that had said something to me. And you were there. I don't want to name their name.
Yeah.
But in Utah, remember?
Oh, yeah.
So the first time I had been introduced, it was poorly done, right?
Yeah.
So immediately I was like, oh, that is so hokey. That is never happening. Like, right? You know, so my first experience, I would say, was a bad recruit. And I think a lot of people have that, right? Where they just try to like recruit you.
And too many people are making the decision based on what they've heard, right? Just based on little bits and pieces of, you know, what the chatter is on social media. And I you know, if I could just wave a magic wand sort of and make it just so that everyone would just at least sit down and watch the full 30-minute video, right? And then bust out a spreadsheet and like run the numbers. And I mean, again, I'm a numbers guy. I know it's not about the numbers for everybody, but if it is about the numbers for you, you know, get out a spreadsheet and really compare costs. I mean, I got pretty nitty gritty. I put in there E&O insurance even. I mean, I know that sounds silly, but that was a big savings for us coming to EXP, because at our previous location, we had to pay $65 E&O insurance on every transaction for 130 transactions a year. It didn't cap. So that alone was saving us, you know, quite a bit of money, you know. So I did the whole spreadsheet comparison thing and tried to get together like a really conservative recruiting model. And we knew right away we would icon, like, you know, because we achieved that, you know, with our production quite easily. So
No, I love that. I think a lot of people kid themselves that it's not about the money, and it's not always about the monetarily increasing you, but we talk to a lot of people that by making the move over, they get more money back to do what they're passionate about, right? That could be charity. I mean, if you guys didn't even care about money at all, you guys could have given hundreds of thousands of dollars away to something, right? Like if you already have millions of dollars and you move over.
You know, we have 7 kids, right?
Oh, I did. I knew you had at least 5. I've seen your Facebook post. I think I lost count. I don't think I've ever seen them all together in one photo though. So I love that. That alone is a full-time job. So
that's our charity right there.
At the rate that they destroy things, EXP been able to help us keep the house from falling down.
We're setting up a 503c for our house.
I love it. I love it. We'll just skip the education. Let's just keep the house. Let's just keep it. I love that. I love that. So as we kind of wrap up here, what would you say to someone that's listening now? First off, if you guys are listening and you guys associate well with the energy that they're providing, you like what they have to say, you're looking to join EXP, I'm going to put all their information below, because what's cool about EXP is people can align with you, right? Whether they're in Arizona or any state, they can align with you if they feel like you can help them get there. And that's even without being on your team, right? They don't have to physically be on your team, pay you splits, and yet they can still align with you and get some mentorship and help. So I'll put all their information below, but as we kind of wrap up here, as people are looking at maybe doing that or just making the move over, what would you tell the people that might have a little bit of an ego in the way, a little bit of a clouded view, and they won't even take a look? Like, where would you go take a look first now? Like, what would be your steps, Meryl and Kristi, if you're like, if you're at KW, if you're at Remax, if you're at a small brokerage, wherever you're at, and you're thinking about making a move, what would be the first 2 or 3 steps that you would suggest for them to take? Obviously, you talked about watching a video, running some numbers. Is there anything else that you would have them do to kind of just work through it and see if it's the right fit for them?
Well, again, he's more the numbers guy. For me, honestly, you talked about the ego, and I agree with that. There's so much negative chatter, right? Like, oh, gosh, they hear things inaccurately, right? Like, let's just talk about media in general.
Yeah.
You don't even know who to trust, right? It doesn't matter which channel you're watching. You don't know what's real and you don't know what's fake. So you really want to find somebody that you feel comfortable talking to that's not going to try to sell you, right? You asked about that second time. That second time when we met about EXP, it wasn't a sales pitch. It was question-based. And that's what I would do. Find somebody that you can talk to and have a transparent conversation so that you really can understand, because I promise you that you've heard a bunch of things that aren't true. Like I can guarantee that you've heard a bunch of things that are not true. So just find someone that you can trust, have a transparent conversation. And from there, you know, then you can dig into the numbers and things like that. But for me, don't believe everything you hear. Find the source of truth. And the only way to find the source of the truth is to somebody that's doing it, right? Not that joined and then defected, or that thought about joining, but then found out this, right? Like there's just so many different things out there. You got to go to the source of the truth.
I would just add, I think that a lot of agents feel like EXP isn't going to make sense for you unless you're going to be a massive recruiter, right? You know, because the people who are most vocal about sharing EXP are typically the ones you see on social media all the time, who are just like constantly, shall we say, ramming EXP down your throat. You know, a lot of them are really, really big recruiters. And so they're sort of, in a way, spreading this message that, like, unless you're going to recruit like me, don't even bother being at EXP. And that's really not the case. You do not need to be a big recruiter. I tell everyone all the time, you know what, if you just brought in like 1 or 2 people a year, spread that out over a couple of years, it could become super lucrative. Guess what? You could also never recruit a single person. If you're an icon agent, it also is super lucrative. Or guess what? You could not be an icon agent and not ever recruit somebody, and it could still be a great company for you because of all the resources and all the training and all the technology and all the support and all the everything that you get. So don't take your clouded, biased view of what you've heard into it, because there's a lot of benefits to EXP besides just recruiting and the, you know, that stuff.
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, I just want to say I appreciate you guys jumping on today. I know as icons, you're definitely not busy people. I know you're busy, especially with 7 kids. You probably have are you guys back in school yet, or what are your kids doing? You got 7 kids behind the screen here working away?
Cool, and it's a nightmare.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys' time. As I said, if you guys want to get in contact with them, want to align with them at EXP, no matter where you're at, it can be Alaska. I mean, it could be Mexico now. I mean, all over the place. If you guys are listening to this and want to align with them, check out their information below. And then just one last time, guys, where are your guys' main service areas again, just for those listening, if they got referrals that they need help with?
So the cities would be, we work really the entire Phoenix metro area. So if you have anyone anywhere in Phoenix, we can usually help. But the cities that we really like to do most of our business in is Chandler, Gilbert, Queen Creek, and Santan Valley.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'll put their information down below, phone numbers, emails. Feel free to reach out to them. And just want to say thank you guys for jumping on here again with us today.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys. And as always, signing off from the Icon Podcast, and we will see you guys on the next episode.